Well, today we're doing Willy's weekend. I got my old FC here. Been working on for a while, but life gets in the way, and she's been sitting painted for years, and just haven't had the time to put her together or the money. So, got some beautifully clear windows here, which are actually non-existent, but they'll come this year. But today, a nice little hole where the transmission used to be. Now this old girl has side shift on it because it's got the cab over layout. It actually makes it nice for pulling it. Didn't need no jacks or nothing, just pulled it out with the hoist. But we got transfer case on the ground. That seemed to be good. Not much lash in it. But over here, we have the T90 side shift. About partially gutted by now, but trying to get her to where she shifts. What happened to it, they had first and reverse, just not second and third, which these transmissions are notorious for doing that. Now she shifts, but ain't got nothing to shift to. So over here, what had happened is, I think somebody took it apart and put it together wrong, or didn't quite get the keeper in the way. I don't know if you can tell there, but there used to be a bunch of needle bearings. Those are my synchro rings. They're absolutely mangled. Nothing left of those. So I think it was slid too far one way, and all those needle bearings blew apart. Might have been actually missing a needle bearing or something, but you can tell from here, that's my oil slinger. It took a hell of an ass whooping. Well, now it's coming apart. So entire upper cluster, yeah, see, I was just dangling there. That's supposed to be a keeper, not keeping anything. And there you can see, you can see too well, but that's chowdered right out of there. So over here, the new synchro is supposed to look like. Got me a rebuild kit. So we're going to try to put that together. And what I had to go pick up today was another transmission, but a top shifting unit. Unfortunately, because it was a cane and sitting outside, it's got a little rust going on, so I'm going to try to clean those gears up a little bit. Synchros actually look really good in this, so first, to be expected. Everyone grinds first gear. It's a double clutching. No synchros on that one, so we're going to try to get this part, save this upper cluster, because I know these side shifts a little hard to come by. I know people on these FCs are a little rare. What are you doing? There's a shop rag. So we're going to try to take these parts. I don't really want to mess with that lower cup cluster because there are about 100 needle bearings in it. And that's a little more than it's worth. What else happened too? It kind of broke this. Which my own dumb self trying to get the gears apart because they're just compressed in there, but that little shim at the bottom holds this backing plate on, and I didn't knock it out. So that's how you can take it out. Take your first gear out the backside. So we'll see if we can get it apart. Now to get this part over here on your throw out bearing slider deal, there's 3 bolts, little Allen key heads. You pull that off, and then it exposes this seal and a couple of keepers, and then you got to take these 2 bolts out here in order to get to that oil slinger. So you get in here and push that piece out of the way. And once you get that shim down the bottom slid out, you should be able to slide both pieces apart and try not to drop all the needle bearings. See, I'm waiting right now. I don't know if you can see that at the bottom, but that's a big block of ice. it should move once that's thawed out. But see, the water's running out of the drain plug right now. Some must have had this dry. It took all the oil out of it, unfortunately. But we're gonna try to let that dry up or melt out of there a little bit, so then I can slide these two pieces out. Well, we got half it out. She kind of slid decent. I had to move that shifter over a little bit. Probably if it wasn't frozen there, it'd slide right out of there. But as you can see, I guess it's unavoidable. Down there in the ice, all the needle bearings. Luckily, I still had 3 in there. So, definitely don't want to do this in the chassis. So, well, we got the assembly lube out. And, as you can see, we had to pull the lower cluster. There's no way of getting all them hunks in the goo. That's all the old needle bearings. There might not much left of them, but see the rags cleaning her. Friggin' brass everywhere from the synchros. So we had to pull it, and there's the old pin. So unfortunately, we had to go that far. I'm trying to keep track of all the pins, make sure I got every piece of it out so she doesn't blow up in the next 4 miles. But get it out. See, I got a little brass pin, cut it 6 7/8 long. Over there, don't lose all the needle bearings. I really don't want to go through putting every one of those stacks in there. I think there's like 100 and so needle bearings inside of it. So they seem tight anyways. I give it a good wiggle and everything. So I'm going to live with that. Clean everything up a little bit and put her back together. So there is a way of doing it, but you got to get two pieces of round stock and slowly stack them in there, and it'd take forever on a Sunday. Well, she's old. If I was going to replace the cluster, I would have. So we're going to live with it for a bit. So see what we can manage. Well, she's all back together now. Well, except for the top cap. But what are you doing? Another rag. But all new parts back in it, except for those lower cluster needle bearings. But she's good to go. The one thing, that rear clip is one hell of a pain in the ass to get back on there. So if you have a second set of hands, you're going to need it for that one. Besides that, all the shift levers and shifting. I don't want to shift too much in case it pops something out, but most part, she's shifting good now. All the gears, give it a dry run. So everything's working like it should. And hopefully once you put it all back in the Jeep, everything will be shifting good. But we'll see. All right. Well, start day 2. Got one heck of a mess over here tearing that transmission down. I mean, it started out on the bench, ended up on the ground, wrangle that back together, but sometimes you need your feet going too to get everything together. But today, I'm going to try to pull that starter down in there. Might have to pull this cover, I'm not sure yet, but that all comes out easy enough. And try to get to the clutch. That's what we got laying over here. Brand shiny new. I assume when that input shaft was rattling around there, it probably chewed everything up. So hopefully my flywheel's in good shape. So we'll see. Well, we got the clutch all apart, the bow housing off her. And you can see she's kind of glazed over, so I'm going to touch that up with a bit of sandpaper. Biggest problem I'm having right now is over here on the teeth. You can see where all that clutch material is packed in there. Well, I've been having problems with the starter engaging. Well, I guess there's the root of the evil right there. So I'm going to try a screwdriver and wire brush to get that out of there. And hit that again and try to get this pilot bearing out of there. So, here we go. Well, we got our Wonder Bread here. And we got our old shaft. So that should fit fairly decent in the hole. I'm going to soak some of that bread and stuff it there in the hole. Well, she's out of there. Now I got a hole full of bread with a trick that didn't work because I think it's just too wallered out. I'm sure if it was a nice tight bushing, but this is way too far gone for that to work. So I had to resort to the slide hammer. Oversized, but at least I had it, and I ground a little hook on the end of this piece and popped right out of there. Now I got a hole full of bread, and I gotta clean that fucking mess out. Well, got the lineup pin in here, so you can see to hold that in that bushing straight. I have done where I eyeballed them, and then it has worked, so that's a nice little feature of the kits. But tighten these 6 bolts up to 30 foot-pounds, and now she's ready to go. Clean up the bell housing a little bit, get all that clutch matter out of there. Teeth aren't looking too bad, so we're going to go with that and hope starter works out well. So we'll see. Well, there's that part of it in there. Get the transmission in. There's only 4 bolts. That lineup pin is pretty darn close, so she slid right up in there. That ain't forcing. I have seen where guys broke those little ears off trying to goose it, and I don't want to screw any bearings or keepers up, so everything looks good. I'm going to leave this cap open, try not to drop anything in it until I get ready to fill it. That way there I don't have to try to squeeze through that little side opening. So that's one benefit of having this open like this, just that little cap. Well, she's all back together now. I got some fluid in there, but just ain't quite got enough to fill the transfer case too, so I have to get some more. But you can see things are shifting pretty good, so same way if the gears I needed right here. So that's nice. So we'll have to see if hopefully she doesn't grenade herself, but I'll get some more fluid and then I'll fasten down this cap for good. I'll put it there temporarily to at least keep the trash out of it and the cats. So, and just gotta put new universals on that shaft. So she's almost ready to put the bed on her.